Okay, so now that we're back on the road here, this is the command injection, and the first command injection project is here. So if you have a page in your router to test your internet connection, you can put in an IP address and then hit send pings, and it will send a couple of pings. And if you look at the format of this output, it is very obvious that what happened here is the programmer was not competent enough to program a ping inside PHP. This is a PHP script. What they did instead was create a line of command line and then execute it in the Linux shell. So what it does is it takes ping minus C2 for 2 pings, and then it just adds this IP address, and then it executes it in the shell. And this is a very common sloppy programming technique that leads to command injection vulnerabilities. And the reason it happens is because if I look at a Linux command line, which I should have around here someplace. Yep, here's one. All right, let me make this bigger. Okay, so if I have a Linux command line, I'm going to do what this thing does. Make it even bigger. Okay, it does ping minus C to 127.0.0.1. That's what creates exactly that output. But the Linux command line lets you put a second command here. I can do semicolon date. And it will execute that command, and then it will execute the date command. You can put more than one command on a line. You can do it in Windows too. And so that means if I feed in this date, it takes my input that was supposed to be an IP address, and it interprets it as a ping followed by a date. So this means I can execute commands on the server, even though I'm just supposed to be a user. So for example, I could use ID to find out who I am, because I don't know, maybe I'm the administrator or root. Well, in fact, I'm www data, which is the Apache server, so I don't have root access, but I do have the ability to execute command line commands here, so I can do things. And if you know some of your Linux commands like grep and cat and cd and stuff, you can find a series of flags on the server. For example, if I just put an ls here to list all the files in the current directory, and maybe a pwd to tell me what directory I'm in, then I can see that there's a flag right there, and I'm currently in this directory. So I just had to figure out how to print out the contents of that, and there are other flags here to find. So that's one fun thing to do. Now, the next one is also fun, image magic. We need an image for this one, so I'm going to take this logo for the conference and save it in, say, my downloads, Circle City Con 2020, that's a fine name. Okay, so what I've got here, this is a big vulnerability that was true in almost all Linux servers a few years ago, image magic. This is a standard image processing library. And if you had any kind of chat or social network with a profile page, you'd have this code typically on it where you can upload an image and resize it and such. So I'm going to upload that image, which is downloads and Circle City Con. Okay. So I choose the image, then I click upload image. So what this does is it creates a thumbnail version of the image, and if you click it, it goes to the full-size image. And I printed out the actual command line command used to do that. And there's the command line command used to do it. Convert-thumbnail, that is part of the image magic library. Now the problem is the writer of this library made the same mistake I made in that ping code. And so to see it, you make a text file with this contents, and you make it look like an image. So I open up a text processor here. Okay, and I save that, and I'll put it in downloads and call it exploit.ping. So it claims to be an image, but it's not an image. Instead, it just has this text. So let's try putting that one up. I choose a file, exploit.ping, I send it up, and now I upload the image. And now, notice what I see down here. I see hello, and the date. So what happened here is the designers of the ImageMagick library, for some reason, decided to generalize their product by giving it more features. And they gave it this ability to add text in your image file, which would put some kind of background color, fill a region with color. So this will fill a region with color. But then for some reason, they decided to let me dynamically change the color of an image based on a URL. So I could put a URL in here, and what it would do is it would execute a curl command to download stuff from that URL, and then it would just take this data that came from the user and put it in there. So just like the ping command, I could put in a URL, which doesn't matter, and then with the correct punctuation marks, I could now add Linux commands. So I added echo hello, which prints this hello on the screen, and then date, which prints this date on the screen. So now I can execute commands again. So I could go here and I could do id, ls. Let's save that and upload that. So if I choose the file, it's the exploit.ping file, and I upload it. Now, here's my ID telling me again I'm www.data, and the ls showed me some files here. Don't look here and don't run me and upload. So again, I can now execute commands on the server, and there are some challenges to solve here. There are some things for you to find on that server. So a flag 5 and flag 6. And the next one is Drupal, which is again very much the same. And let's see if my Drupal server is up. I think it is. I think my Drupal server has a sign-in now, student 1 and student 1, because this one keeps getting hacked. This one is an old version of Drupal, and Drupal had a whole series of really dramatic root exploits called Drupalgeddon and Drupalgeddon 2 and Drupalgeddon 3. So if you put up a vulnerable Drupal page, it will get hacked by automatic processes within a short amount of time. And so I put it behind an authentication just to prevent that. So here's my page, and you should be able to exploit this one too. This one, you do need to have a Linux server to work with. For example, the Google Cloud server that you need to set up. Let me just test it here as a demonstration. So I'm going to put this file in, because my Drupal server keeps getting trashed. I often have to restore it from backup. So let me try it here. If I nano drew.py, and I put in that code, this code creates a page on the server, and you can only create each page once. So I'm going to make this your name CCC for Circle City Con, and I'm going to change it 3 places just to try to hit a name that nobody's used yet. And all right. So let's see if this works. This will create that on my server. Python, Drew, no module named requests. That's rude. Perhaps I have to do Python 2, Drew. All right. Perhaps I have, let's see if I have Python 2 on this thing. I do, okay. Import requests. All right, I'm going to have to do easy install requests or pip install requests. Let's try that. Pip install requests. Right, okay, I'm going to try one more thing, and then I'm going to install pip Python pip. Okay. And then pip install request should work. And I'll have to add this to the instructions because I guess it was included in the previous version of Linux when I wrote these instructions, and it's not included anymore. Yep, there we go. That puts on requests. Now let's see if I can run my attack. Yes, okay. And let's see if it did it. If it did, then I'll be able to see it at that URL. And that's copied it. Let's paste it in here. And what's this garbage? Oh, there's a check in front of it. Okay. Okay. And it should have put a smiley face there, but it didn't. So I'll restore this server, and within 5 minutes, you'll be able to use it. But it's the same story. You can execute commands on the server because if you look here, it's got the same problem somewhere on the server. Here's just a Unix command, echo smiley face into yourname.txt. Somewhere in the email registration form, there was the same vulnerability where with the right punctuation marks, you can just execute commands on the server. And so again, you can find some flags on that server. So I'm going to stop the recording.